All right, hey everybody, Craig DeLuz here. I'm at the Repeal AB 5 rally in Sacramento, California at the state capitol. And lo and behold, guess who I had a chance to run into, but none other than State Senator Shannon Grove. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, Craig. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Now, I saw you over here. You were talking with Becca, who's one of the organizers of this particular event. And I guess she was sharing her story with you about some of the challenges that she's facing in trying to run a business under AB 5, but also be in compliance with AB 5. And just real curious about your thoughts just in general about AB 5, and then maybe a little about your conversation with Becca.
So AB 5 is a complete disaster. It restricts worker freedom. It stops freelance work. It stops independent contractor work because the B prong in AB 5 is almost impossible to comply with. And when I was walking up, I said, oh my gosh, look, there's a AB 5, affected areas, businesses or industries. And so we just came over to take a photo with it because I'm the author of the repeal of AB 5, SB 806.
So amazing.
So I'm authoring the repeal of AB 5 to stop the decimation of freelance workers and to just stop it. And so then I met Becca, and she was telling me her story, and
look at us.
And look at us.
We match. We're so cute.
One of the things that I wanted to make sure to bring up is the author of AB 5, Lorena Gonzalez, has done something that every political pundit in the world said could never happen, and that is bring people from the two different, we're talking political extremes together, conservative the conservative, progressive of the progressive together on an issue, and that is AB 5. And I think it's largely because AB 5, independent contracting to me is the very definition of liberty when it comes to making a living, right?
Yes, it's about our freedom. This comes down to our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
It's about worker freedom.
Yeah.
And you should have the right to work when you want to work, establish your own client base, set your own hours.
Yeah.
You should be able to do that.
And when it comes down to it, there's many people that don't have a choice about whether they do that. They have a disabled child, they have an elderly parent they're taking care of, they have a chronic illness, and they cannot work full time. And if they try, they'd get fired.
Some of the people that we immediately heard from, because it was actually a target of the gig economy, Uber and Lyft, were single moms that drive while their kids are at school for additional income, college students that were struggling to pay for college, and they wanted to be able to drive, between classes or after school. And so we heard from that. And then as the law started getting more publicity, we heard from musicians, phlebotomists, just several different industries that were sign language interpreters. We heard from an individual who translates to Japanese, his Spanish, French, and then does a deaf translation for the hard of hearing, and he can't service his clients because he's an independent contractor. So where do they get services?
Hey, Mitchell, I want you to come in now. This is Mitchell Colbert. He's been working on the rally with us, and I just want you to talk about the things you talked about. We went to see our representative, Nancy Skinner. We both are in the Berkeley and Oakland Bay Area.
Okay.
We met with her, with Zachary Leary. Can you talk about the things that you said that you thought were unconstitutional? I think this should go to the Supreme Court myself, because there's actually things, and you mentioned the sign language interpreters,
right,
that are actually unconstitutional. Can you talk about that, Mitchell?
So real quick on that, my background, I was a contract lobbyist in California. Under California law, there's two types of lobbyists: in-house W-2, and then what I was, where I ran my own firm to work with multiple clients, had that flexibility. I was forced into a 1099 because of AB 5. I was fired because there was no way to bring me into compliance because my client did not need an in-house lobbyist. So given my background on politics, was pre-law for a while, I see a lot of areas, a lot of ways in which this law is unconstitutional. There's a challenge from the truckers right now, which alleges an Interstate Commerce Clause violation, but they're ignoring the bigger Interstate Commerce Clause violation, where California has erected a wall around itself and the rest of the country that says, if you're 1099 in California, you lose all tax exemptions. It effectively taxes us out of existence in just this one state, which is obviously a violation of the Interstate Commerce Clause as well. Then there's the First Amendment issue that journalists and photographers are currently challenging it on. And then there's the bigger issue that came up today from one of our ASL translators. This could be a huge ADA violation, because it's not going to be possible for disabled people to get the services they need to live and exist in this society.
That's a huge violation. And also, when you look at equal protection under the law, if you had the ability to have a lobbyist, or you could buy your way out of this bill, then you're carved out of the bill and you don't have to comply. So you're either in the bill and you have to comply, or out of the bill and you don't have to comply.
That's right.
And laws are supposed to be passing equal across the state of California so that people are affected the same, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Now,
Thank
one
you.
thing that I wanted to bring up, and before we let you go, now prior to this legislative session, if an author introduced a bill, it was guaranteed to get a hearing. That's not the case any longer. Has your bill been set for a hearing yet? If so, when? And if not, what do you think the chances of it getting hearing, or who do we need to contact to make sure that your bill does get a hearing?
So you can contact the office, Shannon Grove, the Shannon Grove office. It's room 305 here in the Capitol, and it just got in print today. The language just was put in print today.
Amazing.
Excellent. Once again, Senator Grove, thank you so much. We very much appreciate you working to help us to be able to live the American dream, to own a business and be in control of our life and our livelihood. So thank you so very much.
You guys track SB 806, and when you see it come up on hearing, please come and testify in support of this bill to repeal this devastating bill, that AB 5, that needs to be
I'll be there.
repealed.
Absolutely.
You have
They
my
will
word.
not be able to keep me away.
Thank you.
Bring 'em out.
Thank you so much.
for doing this. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All righty, folks, we'll be back with more interviews from the Repeal AB 5 rally. You guys take care.